Well, hello and welcome to our Zoom education session on preparing for the holidays. Thank you very much for joining us for this discussion today. And for people living with dementia and their caregivers, the holiday season can sometimes be a stressful and overwhelming time. With some modifications to our regular traditions, though, we can make the holidays more enjoyable for everyone. And we're really glad that you could be here with us today as we explore some helpful holiday tips that can make the season as stress-free as possible. So my name is Sarah Cook, and sitting in with me today is Shelby Berry, and she's sitting in as my backup in case anything with the technology goes awry. With technical difficulties, sometimes we do run into that with Zoom. So I want to thank Shelby for being here. We're both education coordinators at the Alzheimer's Society of Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes, Northumberland, and Haliburton. And we do recognize that throughout our discussion today, there may be some questions that do come up. And just in the interest of time, and because I'm not always able to see the chat pod while I'm sharing my PowerPoint screen, it would be wonderful if we could just hold the questions until the end of the presentation. And then at that time, Shelby and I can go through the chat pod or address any questions that you have. So thanks so much in advance for your help with this today. So for many people, the holidays are for spending time with the most important people in our lives, for laughing, for sharing memories, and even making some new ones. For some, though, the holidays can be a stressful time, particularly if you are a caregiver or a person that's living with dementia. Caregivers or people with dementia may experience disappointment and sometimes even sadness during the holidays. And add to that the anxiety due to the presence of the COVID-19 pandemic and the nervousness around the heightened risk for potential spread of the virus, especially for older adults who may have underlying health conditions and then may be at a greater risk for developing COVID or for transmitting it. And all of those things in combination can feel like a lot on our shoulders as we go into the holiday season. And so that's what the image here on the screen really shows is, we're often thinking about the excitement of the holidays, maybe the traditions that we like to celebrate, but also in the back of our minds, there's that question about the COVID-19 pandemic. A person with dementia may experience sadness during the holidays, especially if they have some awareness of the cognitive and functional changes that they might be experiencing as a result of having dementia. So if people with dementia do have that awareness, it can cause them to be sad at times. And when you think about the other aspects of the holidays, sometimes it involves unfamiliar places, larger groups of people gathering, the noise, a hectic pace, kind of that hustle and bustle of the holiday season that can also combine to create a lot of anxiety for the person. So it's important that we're aware of that. And it's also important to acknowledge the extra challenges for caregivers, because caregivers may start to feel overwhelmed or anxious if they're trying to maintain special holiday traditions, all the while providing care, and of course, also doing their best to adhere to safety and kind of those risk reduction precautions that public health is suggesting. There's a lot there for both the person living with dementia and the caregiver. And ultimately, the safest option, according to our public health experts, is to avoid any in-person gatherings over the holidays or in-person events with people that live outside of your household. But the important thing to recognize is that even without being able to get together in person with people that are significant in our lives, we can still find other ways to stay socially connected to them. And that's the most important thing to keep in mind. Even though the holidays may look very different for all of us this year, there are still ways to make it special, regardless of where or how those holidays are celebrated. And so today we're going to discuss some tips and ideas for safely maintaining important connections and those valuable social interactions with family and friends during the holidays. And as we go through the series of slides that we're going to discuss in our time together today, I want you to remember that when you're thinking about how to celebrate the holidays, it's important to plan early. It's important to set realistic expectations and to simplify the plans as much as possible to make those holidays as enjoyable as possible. So one of the most important considerations when planning for the holidays and during holiday preparations is to be realistic and to be ready and willing to adjust your expectations. So that's a key point to note. The stress of caregiving responsibilities can alone become overwhelming when a caregiver is providing support to a person with dementia. Add to that the stress of trying to maintain holiday traditions, especially in our current COVID-19 pandemic. And these layers of stress can certainly take their toll on caregivers and persons with dementia over the holidays. Caregivers may find themselves being completely overwhelmed, right? Just especially while they're trying to maintain those holiday traditions. They're attempting to keep the person with dementia and their life safe, themselves safe. Um, and so all of that can be more challenging. So it is very important for caregivers to do their best to take care of themselves. I know that you're so busy looking after the person with dementia in your life, but it's also time to give pause and think about taking care of yourself and paying attention to your physical and mental and emotional well-being. Those are key. So it can be helpful to have a group discussion ahead of time over the phone or a video call or even an email so that family and friends can discuss holiday plans well in advance of holiday gatherings or celebrations. It's key that family members and friends have a good understanding of the caregiving situation and the challenges involved with that, the safety precautions that you are putting in place to keep the person with dementia in your life healthy and well, and that they also have realistic expectations about what you can and cannot do. So in other words, they need to understand what things are manageable and achievable for you, the caregiver, in your caregiving situation, and what things may not be. So while having that conversation with family members and friends, and hopefully that is in lots of time, lots of advance notice before the holidays. It's also a really important time to let others know about any changes that they might expect to see in the person that's living with dementia. Having advance notice about what they can expect will also help family and friends to adjust their expectations and to be able to offer you some support and understanding when needed. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this coming up. As a caregiver, it is important that you set reasonable and manageable expectations of what you can and cannot do. And this involves giving yourself permission to do only what you can do, what you feel is reasonable, what you feel is realistic, and most of all, what can be safely managed. And this could mean that gatherings are limited this year, or maybe they happen in smaller size groups. It may even mean that gatherings don't even happen at all this year. Family members and friends should understand that you may not be able to maintain every holiday tradition that maybe you once did, or to be able to attend every holiday event, especially given our COVID-19 pandemic situation. And it's also important to consider the timing of holiday preparations and celebrations and how the time of day can impact the person with dementia. So, for example, you may want to consider decorating your home gradually, right? So that the changes are less jarring for the person with dementia. And this can be accomplished in a few different ways. You could opt to make it a goal every day to add a few more decorations. You can do it and involve the person with dementia, and they get to be involved in that process. And then it's not so jarring that they walk into an environment and it's all decorated but completely different from their routine. So that's something to consider. And if the person that you're caring for, if they're experiencing any confusion or agitation in the later afternoon or early evening hours, something that we often refer to as late day restlessness or sundowning, perhaps consider planning holiday celebrations or activities for earlier in the day so that we avoid that time of agitation. So that may be something that you want to plan ahead for as well. Now, if you're a caregiver, there's lots of considerations that we want you to be aware of. And, you know, these are things to consider to maintain your health and well being over the holidays and even during those holiday preparations. So, it's okay to reach out and ask a friend or a family member or even a trusted neighbor that you've known for a long time to help you with some of those holiday um, tasks and activities. So maybe shopping is one of those things. And you could reach out and ask the person to help you with some of that shopping. You may also want to consider doing some online shopping. I know, again, in our COVID world, this is becoming increasingly popular this year. And when you think about online shopping, you can have the gifts delivered directly to the person that you want them to go to, or you can even have them delivered to your home so that you can prepare them and wrap them and determine, how you're going to get those gifts to the person. Think about also cutting down on some of the extra added confusion and the added tasks by using online grocery services. And this is a really nice feature, again, that's, I think, it's been around in some places, but it's really been sparked by the COVID pandemic that there are grocery services offered online, and those can really be helpful as well. Same with the online meal delivery. That may be an option that you want to pursue as well. All important things. Now, I know as a caregiver, this second thing, the second suggestion, may be a little bit more difficult because as caregivers, we're always really good about offering help to others, right? Always wanting to step in and help out. But I want you to think about the importance of learning to accept help if it's offered to you. That's really key. It can really contribute to your mental health and well-being. And people want to help. They just don't always know how to. So if they're offering it, it's a nice thing to be able to say, sure, that would really help me out today. If you have family or friends that are willing to assist you, then it can be helpful to assign them specific tasks or activities to do. And of course, the more you tell them how much difference their help makes, the more they want to continue to help. So that's really important too, if you can kind of keep yourself organized and know who's doing what by assigning those specific tasks. Don't forget that you need a pat on the back every now and then and to congratulate yourself and recognize the work that you do as a caregiver and how much that means to the person that you're caring for and to others too that see how you're caring for that individual. So you need to pause and congratulate yourself every now and then. I know we don't do that often, but we really need to. And it helps if you know a caregiver too, to reach out and to tell them what a great job that they're doing. And we can't say this enough, the Alzheimer's Society, we really hope that you see us as, pardon me, as your lifeline. So if you do need to talk to someone during this stressful time of year, we have an amazing team and we would love to be able to offer some assistance to maybe brainstorm some ideas or suggestions that may help you. And we do understand the stress that you're feeling, or sometimes we know that others may not if they're not in that situation. So just consider us your lifeline and reach out anytime that you need us. Well, the concept of physical distancing is new to our holiday preparations. and our considerations this year. We're hearing a lot about physical distancing. It's become kind of our new normal. But how does it impact on our holiday traditions? Well, if holiday traditions are important in your family, it can be really important to keep those traditions going. But it's also important to find safe ways of doing that. And that's the key here. We want to make sure that we're still keeping traditions alive, but finding the safest way possible to do that. So, in order to avoid close contact and the possible spread of the COVID virus, instead of getting together, why not think about dropping off some baked goods or a gift or a holiday care package at the person's front door? The term porch drop has become a common new phrase in our world today, but it does provide a safe way of bringing some joy and some thoughtfulness to the person's day. So consider doing that. And it's a lot of fun when you get a little surprise on your doorstep. Now, another concept that we've really been hearing more and more about are parades. So they are becoming a much more common event during the pandemic. So you might want to think about scheduling your own holiday parade and reaching out to family members or friends, close friends, neighbors who would be willing and really excited to drive by at a specified time with handmade signs or other holiday decorations to just bring a little bit of festive cheer into the person's day. It's a great idea. And it's a lot of fun for the whole neighborhood too. Lots of times the whole neighborhood gets involved. Even with the cooler weather, a short outdoor visit may still be possible. So maybe that's a nice thing to consider in keeping in mind that the importance of physical distancing. So if you're planning for an outdoor visit with the person with dementia and their caregiver, you can arrange for everybody to have a blanket, maybe some festive hot chocolate or tea or coffee to help you stay warm while you're having that outdoor visit. So that could be a fun option to explore. If it's not too cold or snowy or icy, head outdoors for a walk or jump in the car and take a drive around the neighborhood or a walk around the neighborhood to look at the holiday lights and the decorations. There's lots of neat things probably in your own neighborhood too, so check it out. And if it's a nice time to get out for a walk and you enjoy that walk, it's great to get that fresh air as well. Think about sending a little holiday cheer through cards or letters. So creating that holiday letter together or the card together and then sending it out to family, friends, or neighbors. That helps to bring some festive spirit into their day. And of course, the whole idea of physical distancing. So we need to remember to maintain at least 2 meters or 6 feet of distance between yourself and any person who is not a member of your household. So physical distancing is important to help reduce the spread. And we always want to be thinking about, especially about older adults who may have some other underlying health conditions to be aware of. So we want to make sure that we're keeping people as safe as possible. So while in-person gatherings may not be possible during the holidays, especially this year, given our COVID situation, we can use technology to get really creative in how to stay connected with family and friends. And there's lots of ways here that you can see on the slide of doing that. So consider using video call software or applications like Zoom or Google Meets or Skype. The list is growing. So lots of people like different applications because they have certain features, some are more simple and so on. So find the one that works for you, and you can use that technology to host a virtual gathering instead of an in-person one. And we do recognize that sometimes it can be challenging to have those conversations with a large group of people over a video chat. So you may want to consider adding in some additional structures or activities on that call so that it helps to create more of a casual, kind of easygoing atmosphere so that puts the person with dementia at ease. So for example, you could play a little holiday trivia game with everyone in your family or in that gathering. You could sing holiday carols together. That's always a lot of fun to do. You could even compile a little slideshow of photos from past holiday gatherings or past memories from holiday gatherings. And that's always nice. That's a great conversation starter too. You throw up a picture and then it sparks a whole conversation about what was happening at that time. So those are some great options there. You can use video technology to capture and digitally send some special moments that you would like the person to be part of, even if they're at a distance, right? So it could be a video clip of children or grandchildren opening gifts, opening their presents. It could be decorating the tree or baking a special holiday treat together, holiday cookies, for example, or holiday bread. So that might be a nice idea as well. It's a great thing to be able to share in a meaningful activity together, but doing it virtually. And you could plan a video call with someone significant in your life to cook together, to bake a special recipe together. Maybe it's something that you've always done every year, but because of COVID, you're not able to be in person together. But preparing that recipe together, even virtually, can be a lot of fun. Think about recording and sending a video holiday greeting card. And you can include personalized messages and greetings to different members of your family or close friends. And it's a nice way of being able to send a little holiday cheer. I really like this one. I think this is a fantastic suggestion, but you can schedule a time to watch a favorite holiday movie together from separate homes, of course. If you're keeping the distance in mind, you can do this from separate homes, and you can either text or video chat while you watch together from your distance environment. So I think that's a fun way to do it. If it's a holiday movie that you've always had that tradition of watching together, it makes it even more special. And if the person with dementia finds the use of technology difficult or challenging, as sometimes it is the case, it's okay to reach out and ask the primary care partner, or if it's a care partner caring for someone in a long-term care home, an assisted living facility, a retirement community, something like that. Um, Many times the staff, if you reach out to them, they could help to set that call up and then to support a video call. So just check in with them in advance and see if they would be willing to do that. But in many cases, they are, right? They want to be able to foster that social interaction. And don't forget that if a video call isn't possible, a simple phone call is still a great way of feeling connection and that sense of togetherness over the holidays. So a phone call is a great idea as well. One thing to keep in mind if you are having a video chat, it's key that you try to keep it as simple as possible so that the person with dementia doesn't become overwhelmed. And that sometimes can happen on a video chat if there's crosstalk, if there's sidebar conversations, if there's simultaneous conversations, too many things happening at once. It can be very confusing to the person. So just try to prepare people to avoid that if that video chat happens. Make people aware of the importance of keeping it as easy to follow and simple as possible for the person with dementia, because it's a great way of being able to stay connected over the holidays. And as the holidays draw near, you may be considering participating in some in-person visits or gatherings. And if you are, there are some important factors that you should consider to keep everyone involved as safe as possible. The first most important decision when considering the option to include older adults in those in-person visits or holiday gatherings is really to weigh the risk to their health. So despite the most careful precautions that we might take, close contact with anyone outside of your household does in fact increase the risk of spreading COVID-19. So we wanted to share some what we hope are helpful tips and strategies that we should give careful consideration to if you do choose to include older adults in face-to-face gatherings. There's a few different ones that we'll go over here. So if the person living with dementia does live in a long-term care or assisted living or retirement community, be sure to check and familiarize yourself with the home's visiting policies during the pandemic before visiting. And I'm hearing that there's different policies according to different homes. So do check in and see if that's even possible and how you might go about doing that. You want to be well aware and well prepared in advance of that. Do not attend or do not host a gathering if you have been or you think you've been exposed to COVID-19. That's really important. Ask, and you could even go so far as insisting that attendees of the gathering either avoid or they strictly limit contact with others, for 14 days before that holiday gathering. You can really suggest that to people because we do know that we want to limit that spread, limit that potential transmission. As we mentioned, hosting an event outside, if at all possible, think about that even a shortened visit or a shortened gathering outside can be achievable if the weather allows. We just have to be a little bit more creative in how we think about making that happen. And asking attendees to wash and sanitize their hands regularly, to wear masks, and of course to maintain that 2 meter or 6 feet physical distancing between one another at all times during the gathering. So those are some key thoughts. We've got some others here as well. Consider shortening, the duration of the event. We do know that the longer the time that we're exposed to others, the greater the risk of developing or transmitting COVID that goes up. So shortening that duration. It could even mean limiting the amount of time that the older adults will be present, will be in attendance for that gathering. So they don't have to attend the entire time, but knowing when they will be attending. This is a hard one because at the holidays, we're often seeing loved ones and family members and friends that we haven't seen in a long time, but we need to avoid hugging, the handshakes, the close contact of any kind to limit that spread as much as possible. We also need to think about limiting the amount of people at the event and certainly respecting the gathering numbers that have been imposed by public health. So it's important, depending on your area and the zone that you're in, to look at what those numbers are and to make sure that we're abiding by those numbers. It's also a great thing to encourage guests to bring their own food and their own drinks, their plates, cups, and utensils, so that it's limited to themselves and members of their household. So bringing all of their own things and taking all of their own things away at the end of the gathering. And, if food is going to be served to all the attendees, try to avoid the buffet or the family style meals, which may involve lots of different people handling the serving dishes and the utensils. Instead, if you can, try to designate one person to plate the dinner to limit the potential spread of COVID-19. And also to think about creative seating options that will enable guests to be able to practice that physical distancing at the gathering. So those are key things to consider and to think about and to plan ahead for. And it's also very important that we review and consider the levels of transmission in the community where the event is being held. So we need to keep in mind that travel increases the likelihood of spreading or contracting COVID-19. So consider this when inviting guests who do live far away or who live in areas where there are higher rates of transmission. Those are some key considerations for our in-person gatherings. And as I mentioned earlier, if the person is living in long-term care, there are some specific things to consider. So As I said, checking ahead with the long-term care home about their holiday policies. Talking to staff in advance is very helpful because they do know what's best and what their residents can handle. So, because we also have to remember that even though we go in to visit with that person, it's also the impact that it has on other residents as well. So we want to make sure we check in with the home about that. And it's all about making those celebrations simple. We want to make them lasting, and sometimes we want to make them, certainly as special as we can. But it's the simple things that are important for the person with dementia, and it's your presence that counts more than anything. So we don't have to go for fancy. We don't have to go for elaborate. Keeping it simple and sharing that moment together is far more important. You can consider group activities. So if you are able to have more than one person visit at a time, and I know that's being limited quite a bit because of COVID precautions, but if you are able to have a group activity, you could go outside for a walk together and get out in the fresh air. If it's not too bad of a day for out there to be walking, it's a great way, and again, to stay as safe as possible. If you are able to visit, consider bringing a favorite book. It could be a Christmas book, a holiday book, a piece of music. You could read together, sing along together. Those are great ways to pass the time and to have those special connections. And the part that I love best is being able to reminisce about past holidays, past gatherings or events, those kinds of things. When you talk about it and share about it and laugh about it, it really does help to trigger those happier memories. So it's a great way also to share in the moment. So I mentioned this a little earlier in our time together today. But as the holidays approach, it may be very helpful to speak to family members and friends about what to expect in terms of changes in the person that's living with dementia, particularly with those that may not have seen or spoken to the person for a period of time, for a longer period of time. And it can really help to let friends and family know ahead of time so they of what to expect so they can be prepared and well informed. Right? That's key. So if the person is in the earlier stages of dementia, relatives and friends may not really notice any changes, right? The changes may be quite subtle. If the person with dementia is experiencing difficulty following conversations, perhaps they have a tendency to repeat themselves. Um, it can be helpful to encourage friends and family to assist in making that communication more successful by exercising patience, by not interrupting or correcting the person, giving the person time to finish their thoughts. So it kind of can be a bit of a teachable moment about what works best to provide that successful communication with the person with dementia. So you can kind of get that teachable moment in there a little bit. Now, if the person with dementia is in the middle or later stages, then family and friends may notice some significant changes in the person's cognitive and functional abilities. And this can be increasingly so if it's been a while since they had that last conversation with the person with dementia. So it may not be subtle changes that they're seeing. It may be significant changes. And of course, when we see those significant changes, they can be more difficult to understand and accept. So we want to be open about that, but also to give people that advance notice that they need. So try to ensure that family and friends understand the changes in behavior that they notice or witness. Try to help them understand that as they relate to the person's behavior and their memory loss, that those changes are caused by the disease process. And it's not the person that's choosing to respond that way. So in other words, they're not behaving that way on purpose. So helping family and friends to understand that if they do display a particular behavior, that they understand that it's brain changes that are fueling that. And it may be helpful to share those changes of what they can expect in the person with dementia through a letter or in an email, even over the phone. If you're having a phone call in advance, as I mentioned earlier, it can be very helpful. And you may wish to include information about the changes that they can expect to see, even a picture of how the person with dementia looks now, if changes in their appearance are quite apparent, as sometimes is the case. You could provide a little note about the level of difficulty with remembering and thinking clearly so they're aware of that. A note if they're starting to demonstrate some unpredictable behaviors or confusion, and even some tips you may want to include for how to make that visit a good one. So if you know those little gems of information that really do help the person to have a successful visit, it's a great opportunity to share that in advance. And if you are planning a visit, it can be helpful for visitors to call in advance of when they are going to arrive so that the caregiver and the person with dementia can prepare for that arrival. So that's key as well. Now, keeping the person with dementia involved in holiday planning and preparations is both positive and beneficial. And it can keep the person engaged, it can get them into the holiday spirit, it can help to elevate their mood if they're feeling a little sad, right? And it can also allow them to participate in activities that they enjoy. We want to continue to foster all of those important things. So it's key to make sure that these activities are safe, that they're enjoyable, that they're meaningful, and that they're also achievable. So we want the person to feel stimulated and engaged, but at the same time, we want to avoid overwhelming them with activities that may be too challenging or too demanding. So we kind of have to weigh that a little bit. So here's some ideas for how you might keep the person with dementia involved. So ask the person to assist you with food preparation, to wrap gifts and packages, to decorate around the home, or even to set the table with festive decorations if that's something that they enjoy doing. We just have to be careful about using candies or artificial fruits and vegetables as decorations because a person that's living with dementia may confuse them with real food. So we just want to be careful about that. Again, safety is paramount here. We also want to be cautious about decorating the home with things like blinking lights that can be confusing and overwhelming for the person with dementia. So although they can create a very festive decor, sometimes it can be more confusing or create anxiety in the person. So we want to be aware of that as well. When making holiday plans, consider what will be most comfortable and enjoyable for the person that's living with dementia. Of course, keeping their safety in mind at all times, and try to keep to the person's normal routine as much as possible so that the holiday preparations don't become disruptive or confusing for them. Again, we don't want to create anxiety where it's not necessary. And focus on things and activities that bring happiness and joy, and let go of the activities that seem overwhelming or stressful or maybe even too risky. It just because we participated in those activities or traditions before does not mean that it's the best thing for the person at this time. And taking on too many tasks, even if they always have been that tradition, they can wear on both of you, right? And they can cause more stress and anxiety than actual enjoyment. So we need to weigh that as well. And I'm all about the reminiscing. It's such an important part of sharing in those traditions and also looking back on memories, but making new ones too. So it's nice to reminisce about the past holiday memories and traditions, but also to think about making some new ones and think about incorporating new traditions. And you can look at things that create a safer and less stressful environment. Those are the things that you really want to move towards if possible. So for example, it could be baking cookies, it could be singing Christmas carols with the grandchildren, but accomplishing this virtually or, as we mentioned, by that video chat. So keeping them involved in finding different ways to do that. So, one of the things that we often think about around the holidays is gift giving. And caution around gift giving needs to be considered during COVID-19 so that we can lower the risk of transmission. So, to avoid the risk of person to person transmission, ask people who would like to participate in the gift giving or to send gifts to do that through the mail rather than delivering them in person, if that is at all possible. And I'll tell you, opening gifts over a video call, so using something like Zoom or Skype, it can still feel very personal and it allows both parties to enjoy that gift giving experience, but to maintain that safety at the same time. So, video calls are a great means for doing that. It can also be very helpful to provide family and friends and other gift givers with suggestions for both useful and enjoyable gifts for the person with dementia. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but it could be an identification bracelet or a membership in a program to enhance their safety, like the Medical Alert Safely Home program, for example. Um, it is also helpful to suggest comfortable, easy to remove clothing, their favorite music, photo albums of family and friends, favorite treats. Those are all possible gift ideas. And as I said, in a moment, we're going to look more closely at some of these gift giving ideas for you. It's okay to ask people to be very thoughtful when they're choosing gifts and not to give gifts that could be potentially dangerous. So maybe at one time they weren't, but perhaps because of the changes in the person with dementia, they could be dangerous now. It could be, instruments, utensils, activities, or products that could be overstimulating. Um, it could be too challenging of a board game, for example, that we would want to avoid, complicated electronic equipment, those kinds of things. So we want to be very thoughtful in choosing those gifts. And I know something that tends to come up every year is that many people with dementia do benefit from having a pet in their life, right? But if you are considering a pet as a gift, be sure to consult with the primary caregiver beforehand to talk about whether this would truly be beneficial or not. We all like to have the love of pets, but it's something that we need to consult with the caregiver to see if that would be a good idea. Okay. And depending on the person's abilities and their preferences, involve the person in the gift giving as much as you can. So, for example, a person with dementia that always enjoyed baking may really enjoy being able to help or make, create, decorate cookies and pack them in decorative tins or boxes for giving out to people. Maybe the caregiver wants to be the one responsible for purchasing the gift, but the person with dementia could be involved in wrapping and decorating that gift. So there's lots of different ways there that you can stay involved. And if family members or friends ask you, the caregiver, about what you like for a gift, you may want to suggest a gift certificate or something that will help make things easier, like house cleaning or lawn or snow maintenance, handyman services, laundry or dry cleaning services, even restaurant food delivery gift cards, all of those things that can be very beneficial for the caregivers. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time then, because this is something that we do get asked every year, how I really want to give a great gift for people with dementia. But I don't know, depending on the stage that they're in, what would be best. I also want to think about ideas for the caregiver. So what would be great ideas? And so we've broken these slides down into gift giving for different purposes to accomplish different things and according to the stage. So we'll talk about those and then we'll talk about some gift ideas for caregivers as well. So items that help people in the early stages to remember. These are great strategies and they're a lot of fun. You can have a lot of fun and it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just thought that counts. It's how well and how easy it can improve their day-to-day life. So Think about those kinds of things when you're gift giving. I love the magnetic refrigerator pads with the they're often very decorative, so they can be festive for the holidays. They may have lines on them that you can write a list of things that the person wants to remember, reminder notices, but they're in a great spot there on the fridge where everyone can see them. So that might be an option. I love Post-it notes. I think they're absolutely wonderful to help us stay organized, and you can purchase these in an array of colors and shapes and festive designs and different sizes. You can have a lot of fun with that, and it really does help to keep the person organized and to remember things. Considering baskets or trays that can be labeled within cabinets or drawers to help the person stay organized, and you can buy decorative baskets or more plain baskets. It's really up to you to have fun with there. A small pocket-sized diary or a notebook for the person if they like to carry that around to help them jot down something so that they don't forget it. That's a nice idea, and they can have decorative covers and different features as well. Erasable whiteboards are absolutely wonderful. You can put those up in a highly visible area, and the person can help to write down upcoming reminders or appointments, other commitments that they want to be aware of. And they're just fantastic. You can even get creative with different colored dry erase markers, and it's wonderful. The sky's the limit there. Think also about a memorable calendar. So lots of times families like to create calendars and give them out as gifts, and they throughout the year they've got family photos, different photos of traditions that they've had through the year, and those can be really, really special for the person with dementia as well, to document those great occasions. Now, what about some items for help with everyday tasks for people in the early stages? Consider a memory phone that can store pictures with the names and contact information of family and friends. So some phones can be complicated for people with dementia if they have like a speed dial function, but a memory phone can actually store the person's picture, and all they have to do is press on it and it rings through. So that's great. That's a great option there. Automatic medication dispensers can also be helpful as a gift, so that it acts as a reminder for the person with dementia to remember to take their medication. So those, and lots of different services offer medication dispensers now. Night lights that come on automatically when it gets dark. Night lights are fantastic, and of course, again, the sky's the limit now. If you notice that they collect something, maybe they like birds, you can often find night lights with birds on them now, or different things. If they like lighthouses, or if there's something that, you can look online, but there's lots of different options there. And don't forget simple ideas like a clock with the date and time in a large font. That can be a great gift for a person with dementia. So it makes it easier for the orientation, for knowing the time and date. So that's a wonderful gift as well. Here's some ideas to keep the person engaged in the early stages. So again, it's your creativity and your knowledge of what's important to the person, but favorite music, and whether that's through CDs, it could be a compilation of their favorite music on CD, iPod, MP3 player, even the cell phone. If you can create a music list for them, a playlist for them of their favorite music, that even makes it better because it's simple for them to access that way. I know that it says VHS up there because I still have people telling me all the time that they have VHS collections of videos, and they have a VHS player, but also DVD collections of favorite movies or TV shows. But also you can think about gift cards for those online streaming services that allow you to have those movies and TV shows on demand. So those are great options as well. Think about activities that they like to do. So it could be scrapbooking. Maybe they like to build birdhouses or other craft projects. Those might be a nice thing to put in their stocking too, a nice gift giving option. And lots of folks love jigsaw puzzles, but as time goes on and as brain changes continue to happen, they may not be able to do the really tiny puzzle pieces anymore. It may be too confusing, but you can find puzzles with larger puzzle pieces and decorative aspects to them. So there's lots, the sky's the limit there as well. Now for people in the middle to later stages, there's some great ideas for sensory stimulation, and that's an important thing to appeal to. So think about scented creams or lotions if they're okay with scents and there's no allergies. Do check with the primary care partner around that to make sure. A soft, fluffy bathrobe in their favorite color, that's a wonderful idea, or fluffy slippers, a soft blanket or an Afghan to help keep them warm in the winter. I know this sounds strange, but we're always been used to the hot water bottles, but they now actually have hot water buddies that you can also purchase. And what I mean by that is that they're almost like a little stuffed animal that you can put the hot water bottle into. So it could be a teddy bear or a dog or another character that they might enjoy. And it's kind of soft and fluffy and cozy, not as rigid as a hot water bottle. So that might be a great gift option. And again, there we have the favorite music that we mentioned before, and those favorite collections of movies and TV shows. Gift cards as well can all be so important for people in the middle to later stages as well. Some other great gift ideas for people in the middle to later stages, frame photographs or a photo collage that's labeled with the names of the people in the photo. So that's important to make sure that if you give that, you can label it for them so that they can easily recall who's in the photograph. Think about clothing that's comfortable, but also easy to remove and that's easily washed, right? Sometimes different fabrics can be very difficult. They have to be dry cleaned and so on. That can be a bit more work for the caregiver. So think about easily removable and washable clothing. Shoes with Velcro fasteners are great because shoelaces can get a little bit overwhelming and confusing for the person. And then, as I mentioned, registering the person with a safety program like Medical Alert Safely Home. That's a nationwide emergency response service to assist with wandering and medical emergencies. And some families will opt to go in and pay for a year membership for that person. So if you want any more information about that, please feel free to check in with us at the Society. We're happy to answer those questions for you. And I also wanted to talk about some great gift options for caregivers. Let's start first of all with gifts that might be considered under the gifts of time. And this is great to get children or grandchildren involved in making these little self-made coupons for help with cleaning the house or preparing a meal, mowing the lawn or shoveling the driveway, those kinds of outdoor activities. Just giving time off so that the caregiver can do something to meet their needs. And it's a lot of fun. You can go on the internet and create coupons. You can have the kids help out with that. What a great gift of time for a caregiver. Thinking about gift cards and certificates as well. So we mentioned this earlier, but again, the sky's the limit, and it helps to know the interests and the needs of the caregiver, but it could be gift cards or certificates for restaurants, for dry cleaning services, lawn care, and snow services. Maybe they're internet savvy and they need a little bit of help with like computer support or computer services. That might be an option as well. Cleaning. And don't forget personal pampering for the caregiver when they need some time away, maybe to go get their hair done or to have a massage or a manicure. There's lots of great options there for making that caregiver feel loved and appreciated. So to personalize the gift giving for caregivers, if you know them and know their likes and their interests, maybe you're going to pick up a novel that's on their must-read list. Maybe like the next novel that they're waiting for to come out in a series, and that would be a great gift idea. Books and resources on caregiving, if that's something that you feel that they would like more support in, that's a great gift giving option. books on CD. If they don't always have time to sit down and read a book, but they'd still like to experience it, you can find books on CD or e-readers that might be better for them, you know, or more enjoyable. A personal video recorder or a PVR, or, you know, to record those programs that they may not get to watch because they're really busy, but later on they want to watch it at a time that they do have available. TV, movies on demand systems, you know, purchasing a yearly subscription so that the caregiver can indeed just relax and watch their favorite shows and movies at a time that's convenient for them. So those are just a few of the many gift options that are available. And if you would like some more ideas or some assistance, please do reach out to the Alzheimer's Society. We're more than happy to suggest others that may work well for the person with dementia in your life. So I'm cognizant of our time, and I just wanted to let you know that we talked about a lot today, but sometimes the information can be overwhelming in the moment. We want you to know, though, that you're not alone and that we are here. We're always here to help you, to offer suggestions, to offer resources that may assist you. So don't forget to contact us if there's anything that we can help you with. Our client support coordinators are just an amazing team, but as education coordinators, Shelby and I are more than happy to assist you as well. And here's some great resources from today's presentation. The Alzheimer's Society of Canada has some helpful tips right on their website for how to prepare for holidays and special occasions. And so does the Alzheimer's Association, specifically some tips around COVID-19 holiday preparations this year. So we're glad to share those resources with you. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that we can open it up and see if there's any questions. I don't know, Shelby, if there's any questions that are in the chat pod, or maybe some people jotted down some questions as they were thinking about some of the things that we talked about in the presentation. Feel free to just unmute yourself and hi, David, and to go ahead and ask, or even comments are fine too. So whatever helps, whatever helps. We like to open it up to you right now. Shelby, there weren't any questions in the chat pod?
No, none in the chat.
Any questions from the group or comments from the group? Oh, Kathleen, I think you're muted, so just,
yeah.
There you go.
I have just one comment.
Okay.
The presentation seems to be geared specifically to home care givers. However, I'm not a home caregiver anymore. My husband is in the home, and with the COVID, I have not been able to visit now for over a month. So how do you cope with that? You know, I can't even get to see him for Christmas. It's horrible, you know.
And so Kathy, that home has different measures in place so that you're not able to get in and see him. Is that the case?
You know, the ministry has closed all visitors to home long-term care places now. It's been like that for over a month, and you just can't go in.
And that's the hardship, right? We're seeing kind of the COVID numbers increase in so many cases in long-term care. They're doing their best trying to keep everybody safe, but it really does impact, especially at the holidays when we want to make sure that we're spending time with the people that we love. And that's really hard. Do they suggest alternatives? Like, Kathleen, are the staff there willing to set up a video chat or a phone chat?
There is a PSW that I have asked for if she can call me on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 3 or 4 minutes at 11 o'clock so I could at least see him, you know. But he is almost getting non-responsive now. Like my last video chat with him, his eyes were closed, and he was being incoherent. He was not he was not communicating. And so, I would have loved to,
And
I know it is for their safety, and I
just,
know it is for my safety too,
I'm just,
but it's really difficult, like, to cope with. Like, I can't even get to sit and just look at him, or check his clothes and see if he needs anything for Christmas. And it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that? Like, there is no scenario that, no precedent that could give us some insight into how you cope with stuff like that. And I don't have any family here. My son is in COVID Central, which is Mississauga. So I don't want him coming here.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I have to keep myself safe. And his wife is a teacher, and he could be asymptomatic, and I just can't take that chance.
Absolutely. And that's what we were saying, your safety is the most important consideration there, but it does make it does strain that, when you don't have anybody and you need that connection right now, it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
Are you, do you have video chats with him? Like, are you able to or phone calls? I guess.
No, he can't use the phone at all.
Okay.
He does not know how to use the phone. Like, he puts the earpiece at his mouth, and he then he's always, I can't hear. What are they saying? And he hands the phone to somebody else. Do you want the phone? Like, no, he's not. No.
What about your son? Can you have, I know that you can't, like, obviously have him there because of him being in a high level of transmission area, but what about video chats or phone calls with
You
him?
know, these young people now, they text.
They
My
text.
my birthday was last week, and he texted me, and I texted him back, and I said, well, at least you remembered, but it would have been nice to hear your voice.
Yeah, sure. You need to say, I'm arranging a video chat, and we're gonna, you schedule the time and say, we're gonna do this. Would he do it, Kathleen?
I will try. I will try to see if he wants to
in
do that.
explaining to him that it's important for you too, that you really need this right now, and that he has to understand too that you need that support.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we have to spell it out. Sometimes we just want them to understand to do it. And we don't want to have to tell them, but sometimes we do need to tell them because they may get so busy, right? If they're, the wife, like you said, is teaching, there's so many concerns going through their heads.
He has a busy life. Plus, he's an essential worker, so he's working.
Right.
And he's busy, but still, I'm not making excuses for him because I had a mother and father. Well, my father died when I was 7, but I had a mother that passed away last year, and I mean, I made it my point of duty to call her every single day because she lived alone. And she could die in her apartment and nobody would know for days.
Right.
So I could, I used to call her every day just to make sure she was still here,
Yeah, and I know, I understand that it's hard, right? When you know how you were and how you would like it to be, but don't be afraid to spell it out for your son and say, this is really important to me.
Many times I've said, it would be nice if I could hear from you at least once a week. I'd say, I even told him one time, I said, one time you're going to call my number and somebody's going to answer you the phone and say, oh, that you probably used to belong to that lady who died 2 weeks ago.
Oh, goodness. I hope that never happens. I don't want you to put that out into the universe, Kathleen.
I hope that never happens either, but at the same time, I mean, he's my only son, for God's sake, call your mother.
Yeah, call your mother. Yeah, that's important. Yeah. No, I certainly understand. Thank you for sharing all that. I know that this is a very difficult time, just given, again, some of the safety precautions that are being put in place, but it's certainly, there's been a lot of studies and a lot of talk about the impact that it actually has on relationships and mental health and social connections. And I mean, it's like they're trying to weigh safety of keeping people alive with also, keeping people well. And and supported. And it's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
It really is. We've never seen anything like this before, and that makes it very hard for people because we're learning as we go, and you know, there's no handbook on this, so that's what makes it so tough. David, yeah, you had your hands up.
At least one of the nursing homes, you can be designated as the principal caregiver, and they will make visiting arrangements. Now, it might only be once a week, and it might involve that you have to be tested, but during the pandemic, they're making that arrangement. So it might be worth talking to the people at the home where your husband is and just see if there's any special arrangements can be made for you to be deemed, I don't know, a necessary visitor or something.
I think they're calling it a primary caregiver, David.
Oh, right.
Because I've signed a paper for my mother who's in a retirement home to be at. Now, right now, I can legally go and do it. I don't need I don't need appointments where most people do to see her in the retirement home.
Okay, he's not in a retirement home, he's in a nursing home.
I realize that,
and
but I think even in some of the nursing homes, they also are setting up this because they understand that it's very, very important that for that contact for everybody.
Yeah.
So as David said, check it out.
I'll check that, but
I was
told categorically that they are not allowing anybody in unless it was a situation where he was imminently passing.
right.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I talked with a colleague this morning who was talking with one of her clients, and she's allowed to go in. So in that particular home, and this is why it's so different. It's different from home to home. But in that particular home, she's allowed to see him, but there's a glass wall, a glass partition between them, but then they can still see each other face to face and still talk and hear each other. So I think they're starting to try to find ways to do that in a safe manner and still adhere to their home's policies and procedures, because they're under so much scrutiny right now, and there's so much, right, weighing on them and their demands to keep people safe, but also understanding, I mean, they're family too, right? They work with your loved ones, and so they understand how important it is for family members to have that contact, but it's tricky. And it's interesting to hear from different perspectives, because some homes are saying no visitors across the board. Other homes are finding ways to make that happen or setting up video chats. So I really like that suggestion, David and Karen, for Kathleen, if you can talk to the home and just express that need and see what they can do for you. Because I know video calls are confusing for the person with dementia if they don't know who's on the end of the line. It's very hard to follow that. And if it's a phone call, it's even more strange because they can't see you. So we understand that is a huge challenge. Yeah.
Now they told me that it could change depending on the number of cases, or whether they had any cases, or whether they had to go into a lockdown. So I think it's going to depend on everything. Like, I know this is going to be a real strange Christmas for me, because this will be the first one I haven't been able to have with Mom. And I'm still not sure just how I'm going to work this, but they do their big dinner at noon hour. I won't put her in quarantine for 14 days again to be able to bring her home for an overnight. It's going to be too tough for me to go and just take her, bring her here, and then take her back. That's just not an option. So it's going to be a very different one for me, and I'm not sure just how much she's going to understand that. So
it's hard to try to help them to understand when everything is so different and so up in the air. It's not what they've always been used to, and so we try we can say it's for their safety, but they still don't always understand what that means. And that's,
She's not understanding what COVID is all about,
Yeah.
or how bad it is, or anything else, you know.
Same with Albert, yeah.
well, it's hard for them. They have no context, no previous information about what that means. And so add to that, and the brain changes that their rationale and understanding is already compromised. They don't have that true understanding and appreciation for what's changing. So yeah, very tricky. Thank you for sharing that, Kathleen. I'm sorry that you're going through those challenges right now. That's so hard. And especially as we're approaching the holidays, and caregivers do, feel isolated from that person when they're not allowed to visit. And so I'm sorry to hear that. And again, we're here for you. So if we can provide any support or just be a listening ear, we're happy to do that. We know it's a stressful time.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? It was really lovely having you all present today. I hope some of the information, I know sometimes it depending on who's listening in, it may not be as helpful. Certain things may be more helpful than others, but I do hope there was something that you could take away from our session today.
Like I bought that clock calendar from my mom.
Yeah.
Every time I go out, it's down.
Okay.
She's unplugging everything. She's not using the remote. She doesn't know how to turn the remote down the TV. So she unplugs it.
Okay.
And
So
unplugs the cable.
because it's so confusing, it's better just to shut it off and pretend like it's not
So
there.
she's unplugging everything, and then she doesn't remember doing it. She says, "Oh, somebody else did it." Well,
and it's
so
okay, Karen. I mean, that's the thing.
It's hard.
It's trial, right? We have to try things out to find out what's gonna work well and what's not going to work.
Yeah.
Again, that's where we can help you, to support you to do that, because I know it's confusing sometimes, and what works for one person, right? You might hear a great gift idea that one person says, and you think, I'm going to try that, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the person with dementia in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great idea because it gave the calendar clock, and because she says, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what anything, what month it is, what day it is. She knows the time because she's got another clock, but I figured this was a great way for her to keep track in the calendar. But for some reason, she just unplugs it and away it goes. So
yeah,
plug it back in. And
sometimes sometimes the digital things are confusing and overwhelming, right? And they just need something really, really basic and more simple. But I know that's the thing. We don't know until we try it out and see, and then we learn and figure out what to try next. It's a whole series of trial and error. So yeah. Thank you for sharing that too. I mean, that's good information to hear, that sometimes they think that, if it's digital, that let's just unplug it or shut it off. And it also takes us back to sometimes, in their earlier life, they were probably encouraged to conserve energy and to turn things off and to unplug things, right? So they may still have that feeling that they have to do that. So okay.
I think it's just confusion in a lot of ways. Like, she's not, even her hearing aids, I'm finding them in the medicine cabinet. I'm finding in her tooth dish, not plugged in. So they're not working because she's not putting them in the little charger. So
there's so many little things like devices like that they need, but they don't understand how to use them. And so
not anymore.
It's adding to the problem, because if she could hear better, that would increase communication. But if she can't remember what to do with them, it's really hard. Yeah.
I can ask her where her charger is. Oh, it's in the drawer, I think.
Right.
No, it's not. Oh, where's your hearing aids? I don't know.
So it's also making the connection, right? Even if she found them of how to, Yeah,
so it's so when I go out, I kind of check around and check things out, and I've asked, I've gone, they've been great if I phone, and I said, would you mind going and checking to see whether her hearing aid charger is plugged in and her hearing aids are in, because she's going to need them tomorrow when I go pick her up to take her to a doctor's appointment or something, you know, so.
Oh, that's good. That's good that they're following up and helping you out with that.
Oh, they have been very good that way. So, but I know that I asked them, you know, what they do at Christmas, because I thought, well, maybe if I took Mom out for the day and take her back for, do an early Christmas dinner and then take her back. So as long as she's only out for a day, as it's standing right now, that it would be okay. But they do their big dinner at noon hour.
Oh,
So it wouldn't do to have her miss that.
yeah,
And so we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen now.
I know. It's
So, and of course, I'm trying to get in the mood. I don't even have a Christmas decoration up at all this year yet. I just can't get there.
oh, and it's hard. It's really hard to do that, you know, to get into that spirit, but try one or two and see if that sparks your interest to do a little bit more.
And I
That's all it
normally
takes.
just love this time of year because I mean, but I ended up having to do my aunt's birthday on for 85 on Friday, and then I had to go to a funeral for a really close friend that died suddenly of a heart attack last week on Saturday. So, and she was young,
Oh,
so it's kind of
hard to get into the spirit when so much is going on. Oh.
yeah. So this year I'm finding it very, very hard.
And a lot of people are, Karen, you're not alone. I've heard that
Yeah.
from a lot of people, that it's hard to get into the spirit. Things are so different, and people don't really know how to get their heads around how to kind of adapt to the changes. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you give yourself some time and you be kind to yourself too. You have to do it. You don't put the pressure on yourself to have to do it. But one or two little things you just never know. They just spark
Well,
the
this is
festive
it.
spirit. And,
It might get me sparked. And
yeah, I hope that.
Karen,
yes.
you know what helped me a little bit? I put my Christmas music on because I love Christmas too. I'm a Christmas person. So I put my Christmas music on and I took my tree out and I said to myself, okay, Lord, this is what my Christmas is going to be and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I put my tree up and my music was not blasting, but playing.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and I cried for about 20 minutes, but I felt better after. And I'm just, every night the tree comes on and I'm enjoying it. And I'm saying, this is better than being homeless. This is better than being on the street. This is better than having to sleep in a shelter. So I'm I'm sort of appreciating what I have.
This is it. And we got to be thankful for what we've got.
Yeah. So maybe that way, just look at all the blessings that you have.
Yeah.
Look at all the blessings and maybe you might get the spirit. But the music does it, I find. Just listen to those beautiful Christmas songs and so on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry to hear about your friend. I'm sorry about your friend.
that it was a shock. So, but she was only 59.
Yeah.
So
I was saying to somebody the other day that was telling me a similar situation, that they lost somebody, and I said, it's so sad to lose somebody ever. It's never easy, but somehow around the holidays, it just adds another layer to that loss. It feels more intense or strong. I don't know because it's sad regardless of when it happens, but it just seems like I've been hearing just and there has been more tragedy and things happening in our news, lately. So it really, it's hard. It's hard. So we're very sorry for your loss. And I love, Kathleen, that you said, how you kind of overcame that. You put some music on and you had your cry, and that's important to do that and get those emotions out.
Yeah.
And then but yet since then, it's really helped you. And so that's really inspiring to hear that.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know still got the time, and I'm going to get myself going, but
Oh, you will, you will. You know, put that little tree up and put all your decorations around.
Just call Kathleen. She'll get you. She'll light the fire under. Just look at some of her artwork. That just put me in an amazing mood already this morning. Just seeing your beautiful artwork and Joan's creativity, and love it. Love it.
I thank God for that every day, because I say to myself, if I didn't have that talent, I don't know what would have happened to me, honest to God. Because I'm not a person that just sits idly. I like to be doing something all the time. So that really keeps me motivated. And when you create things, you're using a part of your brain that makes you happy, you know, when you create stuff. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. And of course, I pray a lot.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So
So
nice.
Merry Christmas to you all.
Yes.
Merry Christmas to you all.
And I hope it's not as hard as it could be, and that you enjoy the day. Yeah.
And certainly, yes, thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of Shelby and myself for joining
Shelby.
us for today. And thanks, Shelby, for being my backup, my technical backup. Appreciate that. And yes, I'm certainly wishing you all the best of the holiday. I hope it's a good one for you. I know it's going to be different, but I'll be thinking of you all and wishing you the greatest holiday.
Well, at least, you know, one good thing is, one thought that helps is everybody's in the same boat.
That's
We're all experiencing it. It doesn't matter if you're the richest person in the world, you're in the same boat as of everybody else.
Yes.
You know, we're all here struggling to stay safe and stay alive and get over this.
safe and healthy and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's my Christmas wish for all of you, to stay
Yes.
safe, healthy, and happy. And yes, we'll be offering some more education in the new year. We're taking a little hiatus over the holidays. It's hard to do education now, but we'll be back, and we've got some more things in store for the new year. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Love to have you in on our future sessions. So anyway,
Right.
thanks again for your participation.
Thank you very much, and have a Merry Christmas. Safe
Merry
and happy holidays, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take good care of yourselves.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.